Hello there and welcome back to the Science Sleepy Minds. Tonight you're weightless, just falling. Not like a dream fall where your stomach flips and you jolt awake with a gasp and a misplaced sense of shame. No, this is quieter, slower. It's the kind of fall that doesn't end because there's nothing to hit, no bottom to brace for. The stars around you don't even blink, they just watch. Vast galaxies smear across your peripheral vision like lazy brushstrokes on velvet. You're not scared though. You should be. But this isn't fear, it's curiosity's more tired cousin. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments, where are you listening from and what time is it where you are? Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your body floats, adrift in a vacuum that isn't quite black, more like the deepest blue you've never seen. There's no air, no friction, no sound, just the silent applause of stars applauding your descent into somewhere. You don't know where the centre of the universe is supposed to be. Truth is, no one does. But it feels like you're being pulled toward it anyway. Not yanked, just nudged softly, over and over, like gravity whispering sweet nothings. And then slowly things change. The stars, once stationary, start to stretch. Just a little at first, then more. They become lines, arcs, rings. Your ears don't hear it, but your bones feel it. Space is bending. It feels like you're falling into a funnel carved out of time itself. It's exhilarating in the same way cliff diving might be if the cliff never ended and the air tasted faintly of metal and inevitability. You see a spiral galaxy in the distance spinning calmly, like a cosmic pinwheel with better posture than you've ever had. You don't move toward it. It moves around you. Everything does now. Space is no longer a backdrop, it's become a sea of currents, and you're just a stubborn bubble refusing to pop. For a moment you wonder if this is how astronauts feel, but astronauts get suits, they get snacks. You, on the other hand, are dressed in whatever existential bathrobe the universe handed you, before hurling you through this impossible geometry. One of the more unpleasant realizations arrives. You don't seem to be falling towards something, you're falling through everything. Back in the 1600s, Galileo peered through his telescope and realized Earth wasn't the center of anything. Not the solar system, not the galaxy, just a rock spinning on its own time. A few centuries later, Hubble confirmed it. Galaxies are all rushing away from each other like the aftermath of a cosmic sneeze. So there is no center. Every point expands away from every other point, and yet, you're being pulled. Maybe it's a metaphor, or maybe it's just a quirk of your uncooperative brain trying to apply narrative structure to cosmological chaos. Either way, you keep falling. The temperature here? Surprisingly specific. It's 2.725 Kelvin. That's minus 270.425 degrees Celsius, in case you forgot your conversion chart. Almost absolute zero. The temperature of the universe's background radiation, the fading echo of the Big Bang. Yes, you're currently chilling in a 13.8 billion-year-old whisper. Cold, yes, but classic. Historians still argue whether ancient cultures ever truly conceived of a center to the cosmos in the way modern physics rejects. Some early Egyptian and Mesopotamian models placed Earth as a fixed hub of the heavens, with gods tugging stars along predictable routes. Beautiful. Wrong, but beautiful. You pass a cluster of stars that look vaguely like a spoon, not the Big Dipper, a different spoon. Maybe the cosmic soup needed a stir, and you're the garnish. Then, with no warning, there's a flicker. Not light, not sound. More like reality itself twitching, like it just remembered it left the oven on. You feel your trajectory bend slightly, toward what can only be described as a nothing that somehow shines. It's like being drawn into a thought you haven't had yet. You don't resist, partially because you can't, mostly because you're sleepy and resistance feels like a lot of paperwork. Here's a fun fact. In 2008, scientists discovered what they called the dark flow. Galaxy clusters, the biggest structures in the known universe, seem to be drifting toward a mysterious point beyond the observable cosmos. No one knows what's there. Maybe another universe. Maybe an old god's discarded shoebox of dreams. You might be headed there now. How lucky. You float past a region of space so empty it makes your middle school cafeteria look lively. These voids span hundreds of millions of light years. They're not just empty, they're aggressively empty. If the universe is a sponge, these are the air pockets and you just got sucked into one. It's unsettling. You miss stars. But even here, something waits. A shimmer, barely perceptible, begins to stretch beneath you. The cosmic equivalent of a floor tile. You hesitate. You're not sure if you're falling onto it, or if it's rising to catch you, or if those are even different things. Then, contact. You don't hit it. You join it, seamlessly, like you were always meant to be here, like the universe built this tile just for you, knowing someday you'd be too tired to care whether your atoms made it back home. You lie still. You can still feel yourself falling, but now the fall feels optional, like you could stop any time, but why would you? A cosmic wind, if such a thing exists, passes over you. It smells like static and ice and forgotten childhood wonder. The stars above twinkle like they're in on the joke. You close your eyes, and in that moment the center of the universe might as well be your chest, slowly rising and falling in the oldest rhythm of all, breath. So, you've landed, sort of, but not really, because the place you've arrived isn't a place in the way your mind is trained to think. It has no edges, no flaws, no convenient gravity fields to remind you which way is up. You try to shift, and the universe politely ignores you. It's as if the laws of physics decided to take a half day and left you floating in conceptual ambiguity, which weirdly suits the idea of being in the center of the universe just fine. But here's the catch, there is no center. You're falling into a lie. A comfortable one, sure, but still a lie. Because the universe, for all its drama, is terrible at picking favourites. It doesn't have a centre. Not like a ball does, or a pizza, or that friend who insists every group chat needs their opinion by timestamp. The centre of the universe is everywhere, and also nowhere. Space doesn't expand from a central point like a firework. It expands from every point simultaneously. Think of it like this. You're not on the edge of a balloon watching the universe explode outward. You are the balloon, or at least a dot drawn on its surface. As the balloon inflates, every dot moves away from every other dot. No one gets to be the centre, not even you, with your excellent posture and questionable snack choices. This idea first hit scientists hard in the early 20th century. Right after Edwin Hubble noticed something suspicious. Galaxies were running away from each other. Not slowly either. They were practically sprinting, and the farther away a galaxy was, the faster it retreated. Awkward. Like space had a restraining order against itself. This observation gave rise to Hubble's law, and with it, the idea that space itself is stretching. Not the galaxies flying through space, but space expanding between them. Which leads to the mind-melting realization that there isn't a center, because the whole thing is stretching uniformly. You're not falling toward a specific cosmic target. You're inside an explosion that happened everywhere at once, and you're just riding the slow shockwave. And yet, here you are, feeling like you're at the center. Isn't that just so human of you? Still, it's not entirely your fault. Even trained physicists admit it feels like there should be a center. After all, when you throw a rock into a pond, ripples move out from the point of impact. That's how we're wired to think. Cause, effect, center, rings, boom, easy. But the Big Bang wasn't a rock thrown into space. It was space itself being born. No outer edge, no ripple point, just everything stretching away from everything else in perfect cosmic aloofness. Historians still argue whether the original Big Bang term, coined somewhat mockingly by Fred Hoyle, who didn't even believe in it, was a branding mistake. It sounds explosive, violent, centralized, but it wasn't a bang so much as a sudden universal unfurling, like a magician yanking the tablecloth off existence without spilling the stars. You shift again, or think you do, and a light appears. It's small, not dramatic, kinda like a dust mote catching sunlight in a dark room, but it pulses, softly. It doesn't look like a star, or a planet, or anything your science teachers warned you about. It's persistent, as if it's watching you, or waiting. You squint. Not that that helps. There's nothing for your eyes to focus on here. No lens flares. No lens. Just the part of your brain that used to interpret data pretending it still knows what it's doing. And in that light, for a moment you wonder if this is what the ancient astronomers really meant when they spoke of a center. Maybe it wasn't a coordinate on a map. Maybe it was a feeling, a pull, a narrative anchor to keep us from drifting into the existential abyss of randomness. In ancient Greek cosmology, for example, the geocentric model reigned supreme for centuries. Earth sat proudly at the center of everything, surrounded by celestial spheres like a very patient onion. This model survived not because it was scientifically sound, but because it made sense to the human ego. We must be special, said humanity. Look at all those stars orbiting us. It took Copernicus, and later Kepler and Galileo, to ruin that cozy illusion. The Earth isn't the center, it's just another spinning blob. Our galaxy? Not central either. It's off to the side in a lopsided cluster. Even the so-called Great Attractor, a gravitational anomaly that's yanking thousands of galaxies toward it, isn't the final boss. Just another blip in an ever blippier story. But that doesn't make you meaningless. It makes you correctly scaled. You're a tiny, temporary arrangement of atoms, drifting through a universe that didn't ask for your presence and won't mourn your absence. And yet, here you are, curious, falling, narrating your own descent into what may or may not be the center of everything. Back in the realm of weird science, here's a delicious fringe theory for you. What if the universe does have a center, but it's in a dimension we can't perceive? Some physicists have toyed with the idea that our three-dimensional universe is just a shadow on a higher dimensional shape, like Plato's cave but with more hydrogen. If that's true, then maybe your fall does have direction. It's just not one our puny brains can register. You could be tumbling through hyperspace right now. Hope you brought snacks. You stare back at the light. It's grown. Not in size, no, but in significance. You can feel it hum in your molars. That's not poetic exaggeration. It's genuinely disconcerting dental feedback. Maybe it's a side effect of getting too close to the quantum realm. Or maybe the universe just has a wicked sense of humour and decided to make enlightenment feel like chewing aluminum foil. You reach for the light, not because you expect it to answer your questions, but because that's what stories like this demand. The fall, the question, the reach. Your fingers graze it. The light flickers, then splits into 7 tiny orbs, each orbiting the others in slow hypnotic choreography. And you feel understood, not saved, not enlightened, but acknowledged. Like the universe just nodded and said, "Yup, you're here, finally." You exhale, forgetting you shouldn't technically have lungs in this scenario, but who's counting? Whatever this place is, center or no center, it's not empty, it's alive. And now, so are you. The light dances away from your fingers. You're not surprised. This is the kind of story where things always stay just out of reach. like dreams of stability or a matching sock. You follow, not because you must, but because it feels rude not to. The orbs spin ahead like breadcrumbs made of starlight, tracing a lazy spiral deeper into the dark. And that spiral, oh, it's familiar. It's the shape galaxies prefer, the curl of a hurricane, the twist of your DNA. Apparently the universe really likes spirals. You drift through it, the silence pressing against your thoughts like velvet foam. You expect it to feel cold, lonely. Instead, it's almost snug, like space made a blanket out of its own vacuum and wrapped you up inside. But the question still buzzes. If there's no centre, then why do we keep looking for one? Maybe it's because history has always pointed inward. Across cultures and centuries, people have drawn their own maps of the cosmos, and each one had a centre. Always a focal point, a divine axis, a cosmic plug hole where everything drains and everything begins. Take the ancient Babylonians. Their ziggurats were literal attempts to touch the heavens, and they believed the earth was a flat disk floating in a cosmic sea. The heavens arched above like a metal dome. Earth, centre, gods, in orbit, simple. Centuries later, medieval Christian scholars envisioned a tidy hierarchy, Earth in the middle, then the planets, then the stars, then heaven. Dante took it further, mapping sin and virtue onto concentric rings of meaning. The entire structure was metaphysical GPS. You, right now, are floating through the echo of those ancient mental maps, somewhere between metaphysics and actual physics, caught between what humans believed and what the universe actually does. Historians still argue whether Copernicus's De Revolutionibus Orbium Coelestium was delayed in publication because he feared backlash, or because he was a perfectionist with a bad habit of overthinking the footnotes. Either way, when it finally appeared in 1543, it dropped like a cannonball into the collective worldview. The sun, not the earth, was the centre of the solar system. And people? People did not love that. It was like being told you're not the main character in your own dream. Ego took a hit, the church grumbled, and yet the idea stuck, because math. Then Kepler said, yeah, also, the orbits aren't circles, they're ellipses, and you can just picture the groan of every geometer alive at the time. But now, here's where things get cheeky. Even the heliocentric model still assumes a kind of centre, the sun, the gravitational anchor, and that too is wrong on the larger scale, because our solar system spins inside a galaxy, and that galaxy is spinning in a cluster, and that cluster is moving within a filament, and those filaments are part of the grand foamy web of the cosmos. Vast strands of dark matter and galaxies strung together like dew on invisible threads. No single point is the true middle, everything is relative. But humans? Oh, humans love centres. We name them, draw red dots on maps, build cathedrals on top. There's even a monument in Turkey, in the town of Çorum, proudly claiming to be the centre of the earth. Another one sits in Ecuador at the so-called equator line, except the real equator is about 240 metres off. Precision is for satellites, not souvenirs. Meanwhile, as you follow your orbs through space, you pass something distinctly not orb-like, a cube, just floating there, glossy, sharp edges that seem to mock you. It spins slowly, ignoring the directionless drift of everything else around it. You wonder if it's a ship, a structure, a glitch, or maybe the universe's way of trolling you with geometry. There's a tiny symbol on one side, you can't read it. It looks vaguely Mayan, or maybe like a subway map drawn by someone very caffeinated. Then, just for a second, it unfolds. The cube turns inside out, flattening into a two-dimensional plane before snapping back into itself and vanishing with a very polite pop. Did you imagine it? Probably. But that's no longer a disqualifier for truth. Speaking of odd truth, in the 1970s, a Soviet cosmologist named Yakov Zeldovich proposed that matter in the early universe might have formed along sheets and filaments, not in neat spheres. These structures over time became the galaxy walls we now observe, and it turns out he was pretty on point. We now talk about the cosmic web, and if you zoom out far enough, it really does look like neurons. The universe is basically a brain with a degree in chaos. So perhaps, when people insist there must be a centre, what they're really craving is connection. A neural hub. A point where it all makes sense. The orbs take a sharp turn left. Or, what your body interprets as left. Could be mental, could be multi-dimensional. Either way, the motion pulls your stomach slightly behind your ribs. It's not painful, just a gentle reminder that your body was designed for walking to the fridge, not surfing the fabric of space-time. Ahead, a glow begins to rise. Not a single star, but a whole patch of space gently shimmering. Like someone spilled glitter into a pool of motor oil. The orbs slow, as if paying respect. You do too, because suddenly you understand. You're arriving at a full centre. Not the centre, but a centre. One of the many places in the universe where a species once looked up, drew circles in the dirt and said, yes, here, this is the heart of it all. You see ruins, or the memory of them, temples built on planetary alignments, fossilised echoes of stargazers and night priests, all of them long gone, but their questions, still hanging in the dark. Why are we here? Where are we falling? Who lit the first match? No one answers, but that doesn't mean no one's listening. You float through this ancient cosmic chapel, and something stirs. An idea, a feeling, a kind of gravitational nostalgia. This isn't the centre of the universe, but it was the centre of someone's. And that, maybe, is enough. The light from that not-quite centre fades behind you, dimming like a firefly embarrassed to be seen. The orbs drift onward, quieter now, like they too are processing what they just witnessed. You're not sure if they're leading anymore or just keeping you company. It's hard to tell who's guiding who when up doesn't exist. Then, like someone just turned down the universe's saturation, everything starts to shift. The colours stretch, not shift, stretch. Redder, dimmer, cooler. You don't see it so much as feel it in your teeth and fingertips. It's like the universe is exhaling around you, and the breath is ancient. You've entered the realm of the cosmic microwave background. That's right, you're now swimming through the universe's oldest photo album. Not baby pictures of galaxies or toddler portraits of quasars, we're talking literal infancy. The moment light was first allowed to move freely, about 380,000 years after the Big Bang. Before that, the universe was an opaque soup of particles and radiation, delightfully chaotic. Think early morning bus depot vibes, but hotter. And then, boom, not an explosion but a clearing. Electrons finally settled down enough to let photons travel in a straight line, and those photons, they've been cruising ever since, stretching with the fabric of space itself, growing redder and colder as they go. And now, lucky you, you're floating through them. It's 2.725 Kelvin in here, remember? We passed that fridge-worthy fact earlier. Barely above absolute zero, but still whispering warmth from 13.8 billion years ago. Everywhere you look, those photons are still coming at you. They're not from a place, they are the place. A perfect, all-encompassing microwave glow. The weird part is incredibly uniform. The temperature across this ancient background is eerily smooth, varying by only a few millionths of a degree. That's unsettlingly cooperative for a universe that can't even agree on what dark matter is. But then, a wrinkle, literally. The tiny fluctuations in temperature, the anisotropies, aren't mistakes, they're seeds. The first baby hints of galaxies, clusters and cosmic drama. Without those tiny differences, there'd be no structure, no stars, no YouTube sleep videos about plunging into the void. Historians still argue whether the term recombination era is misleading. Technically, it implies that atoms were coming back together after previously separating. But really, this was their first time bonding. A cosmic first date. Hydrogen met helium, sparks flew, and photons were finally free to leave the table. As you drift deeper, something odd happens. Your eyes, if that's what you still have, start to adjust, not to light, but to information. You begin to see the background as more than static. It's a map, a pattern, a mosaic of what was and what might be. Scientists use special satellites like COBE, WMAP, and Planck to scan this microwave afterglow. What they've found is a kind of fingerprint of the early universe, and now you're inside that fingerprint, falling between the ridges of a cosmic identity. Then, movement. A swirl forms to your left, subtle at first. You turn, because why not, and see a cluster of photons spiraling. It's not supposed to happen. This light has no reason to gather, and yet it does. The orb closest to you bobs, almost like it's shrugging. You stare at the swirling light, and suddenly it's not just photons anymore. It's a lounge. Number A lounge implies drinks. This is more like a waiting room for radiation. A low-lit chamber stitched together from warm colours and fuzzy logic. You pass through the threshold like slipping into a memory you never had. Inside, the walls shimmer with microwave fuzz. The hum is almost musical, like a song stuck between channels. There are no chairs, but if there were, they'd definitely be vintage, with mismatched upholstery and the faint smell of static electricity. You sit anyway. It's comforting in that strange, I'm wrapped in a blanket of photons kind of way. In the corner a television flickers, old school curved screen, knobs and all. It's playing footage of the early universe, not CGI, not simulation, footage. Hydrogen atoms dancing clumsily, electrons zipping past like impatient children. The moment light broke free, looped on repeat. It's beautiful, it's boring, it's everything. You look to your left and there's someone sitting next to you. Kind of. They're made of static and time, like a person-shaped pause in reality. They don't speak, but their presence feels tired, as if they've watched every moment of the universe and are just waiting for a rerun worth watching. They raise a hand, point to the screen. You watch. This time something's different. There's a flicker, a glitch, a dot in the background that doesn't belong. A speck of concentrated light that blinks too fast. Not a galaxy, not a quasar, just a flaw. And you realise it's you. Your presence, your fall, is causing ripples in the microwave background. Not big ones, tiny, but real. Like dipping your toe into a pool that's supposed to be still. Congratulations, you're now part of the universal background radiation. The orbs tap you lightly. Time to go. You stand, not because you want to leave, but because staying too long might mean becoming permanent. This lounge has a way of keeping guests. You step through the wall, which yields like jelly, and float back into the great cold hush. Behind you, the lounge dissolves. The photons scatter. The anomaly remains. You can't help but smile. You've left a mark, not on a wall, not on a planet, but on the oldest light in existence. Your fall has been recorded, not in ink or code, but in wavelength. You are, in the most literal sense, part of the universe's background noise, and that's kind of poetic. The lounge fades behind you like the last dream before waking. You don't look back, not because you aren't curious, but because you suspect it's already gone, or maybe it was never there. The universe has a way of making its most intimate moments feel optional. But ahead, the glow thickens again. Not harsh, not blinding, just warmer than you'd expect, given that you're still marinating in a vacuum barely above absolute zero. The orbs pick up their pace, if something without mass can truly pace, and your body responds instinctively, following their glow like a tired moth with a PhD in existential dread. Then, as smoothly as mist settling over a lake, the afterglow peels away, and something else replaces it. You're now swimming through light that isn't light. It's soundless, structureless memory, embedded in space itself. This is what astronomers call the surface of last scattering, but here it's more like the waiting room before matter settled into its awkward teenage years. You're inside the universe's collective baby photo, and spoiler, it was never that cute. Kind of lumpy, glowing in weird places, drooling hydrogen all over the place, but still, you feel awe, you feel small, you feel that peculiar weightless ache that happens when you understand something and simultaneously realize you'll never understand it fully. Welcome to the cosmic condition. Drifting now, you begin to see patterns, not just abstract temperature fluctuations like before, actual threads, filaments of light, curling through space like stray spaghetti strands. They pulse, faintly, with what might be memory. You reach toward one, and immediately it pulls you in. You tumble gently, like laundry on a low cycle, and then suddenly, you're inside a timeline, not watching it, not skimming it, in it. The early universe begins to unfold around you, and it doesn't wait for your questions. Time here is weird, elastic. The first billion years collapse into moments. You float past the formation of the first neutral atoms, hydrogen mostly, with just enough helium to keep things spicy. It's quiet. The kind of quiet that only happens when sound hasn't been invented yet. But then, over eons compressed into seconds, you witness a change. The first stars are born. They're massive, brutal, furious. Nothing like the calm, twinkly dots your sky back home pretends are harmless. These monsters burn fast and die young. Think 100 times the mass of our sun, living just a few million years before going supernova and throwing a tantrum all over space. The universe back then, way messier. No cute constellations, no stable solar systems, just gravitational chaos and hot plasma behaving like it skipped breakfast. The first galaxies form like toddlers stacking blocks with too much caffeine. Chaotic, asymmetrical, and occasionally upside down. Historians still argue whether these primordial stars were even visible in the traditional sense. Some suggest their light might have been obscured by the dense fog of neutral hydrogen surrounding them, a period known as the Cosmic Dark Ages. Only later, when rayonization kicked in and the universe started letting photons stretch their legs, did things begin to clear up. That's when things get weirder. The thread of light you're following thickens, becomes less a filament and more a pipeline. You slip through it. No resistance, just gentle nudges, and then you're there. Not in a star, not in a galaxy, but in the moment when the early universe finally decides on a shape. Everything around you is shifting, reacting to something invisible, dark matter probably. You can't see it, you can't touch it, but it's definitely running the show. If normal matter is the glitter, dark matter is the glue. It doesn't interact with light, doesn't emit, doesn't absorb, doesn't play nice with any of the forces you know. But without it, none of this structure happens. It's like an invisible scaffolding coaxing gas into galaxies, guiding stars into cities of light. And in this moment you feel it, not as a force but as a presence, like someone enormous just walked into the room and the floor bent a little under their weight. You float past the birth of the first galaxy clusters, watching them stretch and shear, pulled by gravity like melted glass. You see galaxies collide, not violently, but like dancers in slow motion, passing through each other with only the gentlest exchange of stars. It's oddly intimate. You're intruding on their centuries-long embrace. In the distance, a particularly large cluster flickers. You head toward it. Inside, there's something stranger still. The afterglow is different here, more concentrated, a sphere of energy that pulses with low, ancient heat. You recognize it. The integrated Sachs-Wolf effect, a weird little footnote in cosmology that says some photons from the cosmic microwave background gained a little extra energy when passing through these massive structures. It's as if the light itself paused here to absorb the moment before moving on. And you're doing the same. You close your eyes. Do you still have them? And listen, not with ears, with memory, with attention. The way you listen to silence when someone you love has left the room. There's no sound, just the thrum of gravity and light behaving as if it remembers something you forgot. And then, out of that calm, something unexpected. A voice, not words, not language, just an awareness brushing up against yours, not hostile, not kind, just present. You realize, with a jolt that should terrify you but doesn't, that you're not alone in this stretch of early space. Whether it's a remnant of ancient thought, a projection of your subconscious, or something the universe occasionally permits, doesn't matter. It leans close without shape or mass and offers one thought. You're late. Then it's gone. You look down and realize you're still falling, still drifting towards something deeper, not darker, just more central, a place where light was born and never really stopped stretching. The orbs flicker, faster now, urgent. You follow. The center isn't a location, it's a transition. The transition begins like a whisper. A subtle tension hums across your skin, if you still have skin. Everything feels thin here, like the boundary between thought and reality is just cling wrap stretched over a vacuum. The orbs around you stop. They hover in perfect stillness, vibrating slightly like they're holding their breath. You do the same. Ahead of you, space ripples, not like water but like a mirage, as though the laws of physics are sighing deeply and rearranging themselves for what comes next. You're entering something vast, not big, vast, the kind of vast that makes big things feel apologetic. Welcome to the neighborhood of the multiverse. You probably didn't pack for this, but that's fine. No one ever does. The idea hits you before the view does. What if this universe isn't alone? What if everything, every star, galaxy, molecule, pizza topping, is just one configuration of many? Not metaphorically, literally. This could be one bubble in a foaming ocean of other universes, each with its own physics, particles, and opinions on pineapple. You fall faster or slower. It's impossible to tell. Time here is as cooperative as a cat in a bathtub. The space around you begins to thin, then thicken. Layers of reality stack and slide like transparent sheets. Some universes feel crisp and orderly, geometry so precise they'd make Euclid blush. Others flicker like dreams mid-forgetting. One, off to your left, looks like it's made entirely of static and regret. You steer clear. Historians still argue whether Hugh Everett's many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics counts as real science or metaphysical fanfiction. But his idea that every quantum choice spawns a new universe has stuck around like glitter on a carpet. It's wild, sure, but oddly persuasive. And here, now, you're floating in the consequence of it. Each of these universes pulses independently, vibrating with its own rules. You pass one where gravity is weaker, galaxies stretch like taffy, drifting lazily apart like introverts at a party. Another flickers by where light moves slower. Everything looks like it's running underwater, soundless and dense. You even spot one where time doesn't seem to exist at all. Just motionless energy in a frozen tableau. A diorama of eternity. It's beautiful. It's horrifying. The orbs circle tightly now, pulling you toward a thin membrane stretched across a tier in space. It shimmers like oil on black glass. You pass through without touching it. And then, nothing. Not quiet, not dark, just absence until a pop. And then light. You're in a new chamber now. No walls, no ceiling. Just depth in every direction. The multiverse has receded. This is something else entirely. It's a boundary condition. The place where universes get decided. Not built, not constructed, selected. You feel like you've dropped into a cosmic green room where potential realities are auditioning for existence. You float past equations hanging like mobiles from invisible strings, constants suspended in a void, waiting to be dialed in. Gravity, charge, symmetry breaking. You pass a version where electrons don't quite exist, and everything just sort of evaporates. Another where stars never form because the balance between nuclear force and electromagnetism is off by a hair. That's the weird thing. Hairline changes create unthinkable differences. Tweak the cosmological constant just slightly, and instead of galaxies, the universe expands too fast for anything to form. Tweak the Higgs field, and atoms never settle down. No matter. No you. Anthropic principle, anyone? Maybe this is why you're here. Why you're still falling. To observe the outrageous luck that allows any of this to exist at all. You pass a note scrawled into the void. Figuratively. Or maybe literally. It reads, "We are the improbable consequence of stable math." That feels true. That feels earned. And yet, not everything here is purely academic. You sense company. A presence brushes past you again. Not malicious, not even curious, just aware. Like something's running diagnostics on you as you pass. Not your body, your probability. It doesn't want to know who you are. It wants to know how likely you are. You try to ask a question. No voice comes out. Just an idea. Am I the only me? And the answer comes, not in words, but in waves. Number. You're not even the only you here. You spin around, suddenly alert, and yes, there, floating nearby, just out of sync with your trajectory is you. Another you. Slightly translucent, slightly confused, slightly better at maintaining eye contact. Then another, and another. A spray of versions, each falling along their own thread, each witnessing this place from a slightly different timeline. One waves, you wave back. It's weird, and kind of sweet. This is the multiverse lost and found. A space where paths overlap just long enough to compare notes before diverging again. You see a version of you in a lab coat, another in what looks like medieval armour, one who seems to be holding a sandwich, and you feel a brief pang of jealousy. You don't stay long. The convergence point is thinning. Whatever aligned to let your various yous intersect is peeling away, collapsing like a zipper undone. As you drift onward, you look back one last time. Some of your alternate selves are still waving. One's just spinning slowly, eyes wide, like someone who wandered into the wrong final exam. And then, they're gone. Not dead, not erased, just elsewhere. Your thread continues, singular again. The orbs settle, clustering tightly as if herding you towards something important. Ahead, a new light glows, not like the microwave fuzz, not like the afterglow of birth. This one is sharper, colder, mathematical. You've left the quantum roulette wheel behind. You're heading towards something heavier, something with mass. You feel the shift before you see it. It creeps up through your bones, or what used to be bones, back before atoms got so lazy about boundaries. The orbs pulse tighter, crowding around you like they're bracing for turbulence. The background hum of the multiverse fades, replaced by a different kind of pressure. Not sound, not light, just pull. Congratulations. You've officially wandered into the neighbourhood of dark matter. It doesn't announce itself with flair. No dramatic music cue, no theatrical visuals. It's more like stepping into a silent room and realising someone's been standing behind you the entire time. You don't see it, not directly. Nobody does. That's its whole thing. Dark matter is the universe's most committed introvert. It makes up around 27% of all the mass energy in the universe, and yet it refuses to interact with light, electromagnetic radiation, or even polite small talk. It's basically the ghost that built the cosmos, and then ghosted it. But now you're floating through it. At first, it's subtle. You pass through a region of space that should be empty, but the way your trajectory curves, the way time bends around you, says otherwise. The gravitational tug is undeniable. This stuff has mass, big mass. You just can't touch it, taste it, or throw it at someone. You glide past what looks like a galaxy in progress. Only it's backwards. The light isn't forming the shape. The shape is already there, invisible, and the light is just collecting inside it like spilled glitter pooling into a mould. Historians still argue whether Vera Rubin, who confirmed the existence of dark matter through galaxy rotation curves in the 1970s, ever truly got the recognition she deserved. What's not debated? She changed everything. Galaxies weren't spinning the way Newton said they should. The outer stars were moving too fast, like kids on a merry-go-round that should have flung them into the bushes centuries ago. The only explanation? Something invisible was holding them in place, a kind of cosmic duct tape made of gravity. That's where you are now, inside the duct tape. The air, if we can call it that, feels denser, but not in a heavy way. More like space is reluctant to let you go. Every movement you make curves slightly, like you're being magnetically guilt-tripped in multiple directions at once. The orbs fan out ahead of you, guiding your path between what might be gravitational filaments, vast strands of dark matter connecting galaxy clusters like sinew in a cosmic body. You remember those cosmic web maps? Those weren't metaphors. You're swimming through the real thing. And it's beautiful. Not in a sparkly postcard kind of way. It's beautiful in the way scaffolding is beautiful. Functional, intricate, hidden until you know what to look for. Every glowing galaxy you've ever admired is just a chandelier hanging from these invisible support beams. You drift closer to a particularly thick strand. At first it looks like smoke, but then you realise it's moving. Not the way wind moves, it pulses like breath. You're watching the skeleton of the universe inhale, and here's the part that makes your skull tingle. Nobody really knows what dark matter is. There are theories, of course. WIMPs, weakly interacting massive particles, axions, sterile neutrinos, even fringe ideas that it's some kind of modified gravity playing dress-up. But the truth, it's still a mystery box. You pass a cluster of galaxies gently orbiting an unseen mass, like dancers swaying around a ghost. One of the orbs darts forward and disappears into the void. You flinch. A moment later, it reappears on the other side, untouched, but flickering slightly. You get the sense that even they aren't fully immune to the pull here. You continue forward, brushing against a gravitational well deeper than anything you've yet encountered. It doesn't suck you in, it lures you, like a trap laid by a predator too old to move quickly, but too patient to care. And then you feel it, a tug from behind. You twist, somehow, and spot a different kind of darkness creeping along the edges of your path. It's thicker, heavier, not just mass, it's more like dark energy? No, not yet. That comes later. This is something else. You've stumbled into the liminal space between structure and void, a region where dark matter scaffolding thins and the universe yawns open. The gravitational fields here are unpredictable. You feel yourself stretch slightly. Not painfully, just enough to notice that your edges don't line up quite like they used to. It's not spaghettification. That horror's still coming, be patient, but it's close. The orbs blink in unison, warning you. Time to move. You push forward, mentally, emotionally, gravitationally, and pass through the final stretch of filament. Behind you, the web narrows into a thread, then nothing. Ahead, the light bends again, not away, into something colossal, a cluster. No, the cluster. You recognize it from simulations and high-resolution sky maps. The Virgo supercluster, the Laniakea supercluster, or something even larger. Doesn't matter. This place is dense. Thousands upon thousands of galaxies packed together, swirling slowly like syrup spiraling down a drain the size of eternity. And every one of them is nested in dark matter. You can't see it, but you feel it, the shape it forms, the way it controls the dance without ever appearing on stage, and in the quiet, in that gravitational calm that settles over everything massive, you realize something. Dark matter isn't just supporting this cosmic architecture, it's enforcing it. Like a structural engineer who refuses to leave even after the building's done. You pass a pair of galaxies mid-merger, their stars flinging out in tidal tails like sparks from a grinding wheel. The orbs hover, reverent. You slow, watching. Inside that dance, inside that slow-motion collision, you see a truth. Without the dark matter halos around them, these galaxies would have shredded each other completely. Instead, they're fusing. Slowly, gravitationally, intimately. And the dark matter, just watching, just allowing. As you drift past, something curious tickles the edge of your awareness. A fringe theory, half forgotten. What if dark matter isn't a thing at all, but a side effect? A byproduct of how we misunderstand gravity at galactic scales? MOND, modified Newtonian dynamics, a favourite of underdog theorists and late-night science forums. You smile, you don't believe it, but you love that someone does. Because the truth is we don't know what's holding the universe together, but we know it is held, and for now, that's enough. The orbs press forward again, leading you away from the web. The gravity thins, the structure loosens, and up ahead, something massive, something invisible yet impossibly obvious. You're about to meet a black hole, but not just a black hole. The black hole. You don't need to be told you're close. The pull says everything. Gravity thickens around you, not like syrup, not like molasses, more like an emotion, heavier than sorrow, more insistent than longing. It's as if the fabric of space is no longer content to simply host you. It wants you now. And there it is, a galactic cluster, vast beyond comprehension, swirling before you like a hurricane built of stars. Thousands of galaxies locked in a gravitational slow dance. Ellipticals, spirals, irregulars, each glowing, rotating, drifting in ways so subtle, you wonder if they know something you don't. But what dominates this space is not the light, it's the darkness in the middle, a black hole, supermassive, possibly ultramassive, maybe even beyond classification. The core of this cluster spins around it, drawn into its invisible will. You can't see it directly, of course, but you can see what it's doing. How space warps near the center, how starlight bends, how the timing of everything gets funny. It's like standing at the edge of a party you weren't invited to and realizing the host is gravity itself. The orbs hesitate, pulsing, not warning you off, just acknowledging what you're about to fall into, and so you go. Because what else would you do? You drift closer, and the cluster begins to unfold around you. Galaxies stretch into faint arcs as gravitational lensing takes over. Light isn't behaving anymore, it's obeying. Every photon curves inward, bent not by force but by the sheer indifference of mass. And oh, the scale of it! Each galaxy is a glowing testament to physics and patience, housing hundreds of billions of stars. And yet, here they are, tiny pinwheels in orbit around a nothingness so dense it has erased its own surface. Welcome to the cluster's heart, a region where matter collapses into mystery, and the word center finally starts to mean something again. Historians still argue whether black holes are best described as objects or events. Technically, they're not things in the usual sense. They're regions where density reaches infinity, and space-time gets tired of pretending it makes sense. Some call it a singularity. Others call it the place where physics gives up and goes out for coffee. You float closer to the event horizon. This one's so massive the horizon isn't a line, it's a region. A bubble of warped space dozens of light years across. A place where nothing escapes, not even light, not even gossip. You expect violence, but instead, stillness. Because the strangest thing about a supermassive black hole is how polite it is on the outside. If you were orbiting it safely, at a distance, you might not even notice. It's not like the movies. No swirling whirlpool, no angry death scream, just quiet power, bending reality so thoroughly that escape becomes a math problem with no solution. But you're not orbiting, you're falling in. Slowly at first, then not. The closer you get, the more time bends. Not just around you, but for you. To a distant observer, you'd appear frozen, lingering forever at the edge. But from your own perspective, you fall normally, irresistibly toward the point of no return. This is gravitational time dilation, the universe's way of stretching seconds into centuries when mass gets this pushy. You pass the innermost stable orbit, the last chance for a casual swing by. Too late now. And then, like stepping through an invisible curtain, you cross the event horizon. There's no jolt, no alarm, just a sudden shift, as if the universe changed fonts without telling anyone. You're inside. And here's the mind-bending bit. You don't see blackness. You see everything, all at once. Starlight from the past, galaxies that haven't yet formed, photons racing toward the singularity alongside you. Space collapses into directionless chaos. Every path leads inward. Every moment is forward. Every choice ends here. You're no longer in space. You are space. Stretched. Distorted. Caught in a gravitational embrace so complete, it has overwritten your concept of movement. You're not falling anymore. You're being unwritten. Here's a fringe detail for you. Some physicists suggest that what lies inside a black hole might not be a singularity at all, but a bridge, a wormhole, a tunnel to another universe. Others think it could be a firewall of pure quantum chaos, instantly destroying any information that dares enter. The math is messy. The arguments are louder than most faculty meetings. Still, you press on. Or rather, you allow yourself to be carried. There's no resistance, no choice, only velocity that cannot be stopped. And then, something shifts. Again. The compression stops. The sensation of infinite descent gives way to something strange. You're still inside the black hole, but now it's not collapsing further. It's opening. Welcome to the eye of the storm. You've reached the innermost core of the cluster's supermassive black hole. And for reasons not entirely clear, there's space here. It's not real, not in any strict sense. It's a pocket, a loophole, a mathematical fluke allowed to exist because the laws governing this place have gone full goblin mode. Inside, it's oddly beautiful. Colours ripple without light. Geometry flexes in ways you'd need 17 dimensions to diagram. And you exist. Somehow. You drift across a plane that isn't a plane, toward a structure that seems to both exist and not exist. Maybe it's information. Maybe it's memory. Maybe it's the echo of everything this black hole has ever consumed, compressed into a single shimmering thought. A star, a planet, a satellite, a person, you. All of it has been recorded, not destroyed, just stored. This is the holographic principle made manifest. The idea that the contents of a black hole, every scrap of matter and information, are preserved on its surface, encoded like data on a drive you'll never eject. You see it all now, your own entry, your fall, your face, your questions, and one answer. Scrawled in light you can only half translate, you are never falling in. You are always falling through. The orbs, somehow still with you, circle tighter, drawing close as space begins to shiver again. This place won't hold. It never does. The eye collapses, the pressure returns. You brace for the singularity, but instead, you burst outward, exploding through an opening so sudden it might as well be a rebirth. The black hole spits you back into the cluster, reborn in motion. Behind you, the monster remains, still pulling, still feeding, still silent, and you, spinning gently through the starlight of 1,000 galaxies, are forever marked by its gravity. You'll never be the same, you're still spinning, but not in the way a planet spins or even a galaxy. No, this is deeper, more personal. Your thoughts spiral now, orbiting the realization that something just let you go. A supermassive black hole, cosmic trash compactor, breaker of time, eater of stars, took one look at you and said, "Nah, not today." Which honestly feels a little rude. The orbs seem unsettled too, flickering like they've just rebooted. One of them does a lazy loop around your head, as if checking for damage. Another hovers in front of your face like it wants to ask, what did it feel like? You don't have words for it, just a lingering pressure behind the eyes, not pain, just the gravitational equivalent of déjà vu. Then, up ahead, the stars shift. Or rather, one of them starts to move. Not toward you, not away, outward, from everywhere, like a lighthouse beam sweeping across dark water, and you're the boat with no sails. The orb at your side vibrates twice. You feel the message rather than hear it. Quasar. And oh, what a word, what a thing. You're drifting toward a quasar now. One of the universe's loudest secrets. A blazing, jet-spewing, galaxy-anchoring cosmic tantrum. It pulses at the edge of your vision, impossibly distant and yet somehow too close. It's not a star. It's not a sun. It's a supermassive black hole. Yes, another one, but this one's still feeding. Actively, violently, and it's not trying to hide. Light pours from it like it's trying to outshine the Big Bang itself. Jets of matter shoot from its poles at nearly the speed of a light, tens of thousands of light years long. These aren't gentle beams. These are death lasers made of plasma, aimed at nothing and everything. You follow one for a moment. It stretches until your concept of scale gets the hiccups. Quasars live at the centres of galaxies, active galactic nuclei if you want to impress at parties, and this one, it's ancient, older than most galaxies you've seen, older maybe than the rules you've been following, and yet, here it is, still burning, still screaming across the dark. Historians still argue whether quasars are a temporary stage in galactic evolution or a sign of something far more fundamental. Some think they're a kind of galactic adolescence, a wild, high-energy phase that eventually burns out and matures into a quieter, more stable core. Others whisper that quasars might be leftovers from an earlier version of the universe, flickering reminders of what came before time had manners. The orbs keep their distance, so do you. You float near the accretion disk, a monstrous whirlpool of gas, dust and regret spinning into the black hole's maw. Temperatures here can reach billions of degrees. The radiation alone could fry a planet, maybe a star or two. You admire it from your invulnerable dream body. One perk of falling through metaphysical physics. Nothing can quite kill you because you've stopped qualifying as alive in the traditional sense. The disk pulses with X-rays and gamma rays, wavelengths so aggressive they feel like insults, and yet there's a strange rhythm to it, like a heartbeat you're not supposed to hear. Each pulse sends ripples through nearby space. Each ripple tells a story, and you start to listen. You hear the birth of a galaxy centered around this black hole. You hear stars shredded into hot ribbons, matter spiraling inward in its final death dance. You hear, somehow, the loneliness of it all, because quasars aren't social creatures. They burn so brightly that they erase the night around them. No stars dare shine nearby. No planets form. No life survives. A quasar lights up the universe, yes, but it also sterilizes it. It's the ultimate cosmic trade-off, radiance for isolation. And yet, this one, this tired billion-year-old tantrum is still going. You wonder why. Then the quasar speaks, not in words, in colour, in gravity, in a sense of pull that feels almost like memory. It shows you a planet, long gone now, boiled to ash. It shows you a civilization that tried to map the light and got lost in it. It shows you their last message, burned into microwave whispers. We mistook light for meaning. Oof, that hits. The orbs nudge you gently. It's time to go. But you hesitate. Because suddenly you're wondering, what happens when this quasar dies? It's not immortal. One day the black hole will stop feeding. The jets will fade, the light will dim, and the galaxy around it will grow quiet. The universe is full of such endings. Right now we only see the bright ones, the screaming children, the show-offs. But for every quasar blazing at the edge of visibility, there are thousands of quiet giants, black holes that ate their fill and fell asleep, galaxies with dark cores, skeletons of light. The quasar flickers again, a final pulse, and for a moment, just one, you see the light curve inward, spiral back on itself and vanish. The jet flickers, the disk dims. It's still active, but not for long. You're witnessing the long blink that marks the end of a cosmic lighthouse. And now, finally you move on, drifting once more into quiet space, leaving behind a gravitational engine that once outshone an entire galaxy. Ahead, the void feels different. Softer, not as hungry, not as loud. The orbs rearrange, forming a tight linear path forward, and something ripples in your wake, not light, not sound, but gravity itself. You're entering the next layer of deep space, not held by stars, not shaped by dark matter, but stirred by the echoes of collisions past. You're about to ride a wave. It starts as a shiver, not in your limbs, those are long gone, but in the space around you. The orbs flicker erratically, like candle flames in a breeze you can't feel. The glow from the dying quasar fades behind you, and for a moment it feels like you've slipped back into emptiness. But this emptiness moves. You don't notice it at first. Space always feels like it's rushing past you, stretching like taffy in a vacuum. But this is different. The movement has rhythm, pattern, purpose. You're not just floating anymore, you're riding. A gravitational wave is passing through. No alarm bells, no boom, just an incredibly polite warping of the very fabric you're stitched into. Space expands in one direction, contracts in another, over and over again, like an invisible accordion being played by the universe's most patient jazz musician. You feel yourself elongate, not physically, but conceptually. Your distance from yourself changes, your width pulses, and for once the phrase coming apart at the seams feels kind of accurate. The orbs arrange themselves in a grid, reacting with surprising urgency. They're measuring the disturbance. You recognize the pattern, interferometry. It's the same principle used by the LIGO detectors back on Earth, the ones that confirmed the existence of gravitational waves in 2015. Historians still argue whether the first detection was a lucky catch or inevitable. The signal came from two black holes colliding 1.3 billion light-years away, releasing more energy in a fraction of a second than all the stars in the observable universe combined. And yet, the ripple that reached us moved space-time less than the width of a proton. Now you're inside one of those waves. You expected it to feel violent. It doesn't. It feels intimate. Like overhearing the cosmos whisper about something it probably shouldn't. Because that's what gravitational waves are. Gossip between massive objects. When black holes merge or neutron stars collide, they don't just make light. They send messages, not in words, in warp. You drift along the wave, moving perpendicular to its motion. Each oscillation carries the weight of a cosmic event, a star collapsing, a galaxy swaying, a memory breaking the speed limit. One of the orbs pulses with a data stream. You hear it translate, though no language is involved. Mass 85 plus 66 solar masses. Result single black hole 142 solar masses. Wave strength detectable. Distance 5 billion light years. Time of collision before your ancestors made fire. It's a love letter from before your species had grammar. The space around you begins to flicker. Not visibly, geometrically. Shapes stretch and compress with the wave. Even time feels a little looser, like a rubber band left out in the sun. You see a spiral in the distance, not a galaxy, something tighter, more personal. Two neutron stars orbiting each other in a decaying embrace. They circle faster and faster, losing energy to space-time itself until boom. Well, not boom. Not here. But the echo of that final impact surges through you. That's the killer nova. A collision so extreme it produces gold, platinum, and every heavy element that makes jewelry and dental fillings, and more romantically, the inner linings of human hearts. You're drifting through the aftermath of a cosmic forge. The orbs dim in reverence. A single pulse travels outward, a low-frequency ripple with no light, no sound, just presence. It stretches across the universe like a fingerprint of creation. Every part of space remembers this wave, even the vacuum you're floating in. The debris from the collision fades into background mist, but the gravitational wave, it continues. You ride it, and the wave begins to feel familiar. It's not just one, it's layered. Hundreds, thousands, rippling through each other like music written in overlapping chords. Black holes, neutron stars, white dwarfs that kiss too hard. You're drifting through a cosmic symphony, each wave a note, each note a memory of unimaginable violence recorded in perfect silence. There's an eerie calm to it all. Despite the collisions, the destruction, the collapse, nothing here feels angry. It's just momentum. Mass doing what mass does when you let it off the leash. A fringe theory bubbles up. Some physicists once speculated that gravitational waves might one day let us hear the echoes of the Big Bang itself. Not light, too scattered. But gravity? Maybe. Maybe these waves have been bouncing around since the moment time started, waiting for someone quiet enough to notice. You wonder if you're hearing those echoes now, or maybe you are one. The wave you're on begins to stretch wider, slower. Its origin fades behind you. The orbs realign, pulsing steadily, like a heartbeat, like they're tracking something deeper than motion. A shape forms ahead, not a planet, not a star, a ring. Massive, suspended in space, not constructed, grown maybe. It's hard to say. It's made of dust and light, warped subtly by gravity. You approach it sideways, skimming along its curve. This is no artifact, it's a resonance zone, a region of space where gravitational waves overlap in perfect harmony, amplifying each other. A gravitational standing wave, still, echoing itself forever. You drift through the center, and for a moment, just a moment, you feel everything. Every black hole that ever merged, every star that collapsed, every moment of violent change wrapped in a ripple of space-time, and one whisper, you are made from collisions. Then the ring dissolves, the wave tapers off, and silence returns. Not the absence of sound, but the return of gravity to its resting shape. You exhale without lungs. The orbs blink. One of them pulses a final time before changing direction. You follow, because now something new is glowing, not with destruction, with creation. You're not falling anymore. Now you're drifting. The wave has passed, the ripple has calmed, and the fabric of space has returned to its usual subtle wriggle. And in the quiet after that storm, something softer calls to you. The orbs drift ahead, slower this time, like they're coaxing you. There's no more rush, no sense of cosmic urgency, just a growing warmth ahead, low, gold, and faintly pink, like the inside of a sunrise if it forgot it was supposed to stop. You move toward it instinctively. You're entering a nursery. No, not the kind with stuffed animals and lullabies. This is the star-forging fog of a nebula. The first thing you notice is the light, not sharp like starlight, not chaotic like a quasar, but diffused, generous, like it has time. Light here doesn't race, it settles. It lingers in the dust like perfume on a scarf. This is where stars are born, and you're floating through the placenta of the galaxy. Warm gas clouds curl around you, in colours you can't name, not because they're alien, because your vocabulary is too small. Reds that taste like cinnamon, blues that smell like old books. There's even a green here that feels minty. Somehow, it's the Orion Nebula, or one like it. You're not sure. The boundaries between actual and archetype are blurry here. This place could be 1,344 light-years from Earth, or just outside your own memory. The gas clouds drift like thoughts trying to form sentences. You pass through curtains of hydrogen, helium and carbon, ingredients for life, swirling lazily, unaware of their future responsibilities. Gravity has just begun to take an interest in them. In the distance you spot a dense knot of gas beginning to contract. It's spinning, even now, drawing in matter from its surroundings. This is it, a protostar, still embryonic, still forming. You drift closer, it's not hot yet. Not really, but pressure is building. Gravity is folding the gas in on itself like dough being kneaded, and in the centre, atoms are starting to get uncomfortably close to each other. They're grumbling, shifting, getting ready to fuse. Fusion? What a show! Hydrogen atoms crash together, fusing into helium, releasing light and heat and glory. It's the most efficient nuclear engine in the universe. It's also the reason your skin exists, the calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood. Forged by ancient stars that once did this exact thing, and then blew themselves to pieces when they got bored. You float through this slowly burning idea of a star and feel the warmth begin to rise. Not just temperature, but potential. This place is heavy with what might be. Historians still argue whether the first stars were born alone or in clusters. The earliest ones, population 3 stars, are theoretical, but if they existed, they'd have been enormous, short-lived and composed almost entirely of hydrogen and helium. We've never seen one, but the dust they left behind shaped everything. You pass a clump of dust and gas that hasn't quite decided what it wants to be. It flinches as you float by, as if aware of its own indecision. The orbs spin lazily now, mirroring the rotations of the clouds around you. You're inside a stellar womb, and everything here is mid-process. Everything is becoming. You see other protostars flickering in the distance, forming in clusters like gossip spreading at a slumber party. The closer they grow, the more their gravity tangles together, forming future solar systems. Maybe planets, maybe moons, maybe places where someone will one day stare at a night sky and wonder what the heck all this means. A particularly bold orb dives ahead and vanishes into one of the dense clouds. For a moment you lose track of it. Then, flash. A shockwave ripples outward. A nearby clump collapses in on itself. Another begins to spin faster. What just happened? You just witnessed a trigger, probably a supernova's echo or another massive event that set off a chain reaction. Gravity responds. The fog shudders. Starbirth is not tidy. It's not a quiet miracle. It's a riot in slow motion. Clouds colliding, gravity fighting turbulence, radiation kicking back against collapse, and somehow, in all that chaos, something glows. A star is born, and here's the truly weird part: the star is singing. Not audibly, of course, but it pulses, it vibrates. The gas around it responds in waves, like a subwoofer buried under 1 trillion tons of hydrogen. You feel it in your jaw, in your imaginary ribs, in the small of your back. Like a lullaby hummed by pressure. You remember a fact you once read. The sun vibrates too. NASA has translated those oscillations into sound. It groans and hums in frequencies too low for human ears, but not too low for imagination. This new star will do the same. Maybe it will live for billions of years. Maybe it will burn out in just a few million. Either way, it's happening now, and you're here to see it. And the fringe detail? Some theorists believe stars can form with complex magnetic fields that twist and tangle into knots, starquakes. When those magnetic fields snap, they release bursts of radiation so intense they can wipe out atmospheres from light years away. Kind of makes sunscreen feel adorable in comparison. One of the orbs circles you excitedly. It wants you to see something else. Just beyond this newborn star is another cloud, but this one is cooler, darker, flatter. You recognize the shape. It's a protoplanetary disk. Dust and gas swirling into rings, coalescing into clumps. Some will become planets. Others will crash into each other, shattering into moons, asteroids, regrets. It's violent, slow, and utterly crucial. You pass through the disk. Tiny grains of dust sparkle as they stick together. You're watching gravity build a solar system out of static. The orbs pause. They don't want to leave yet. You don't either. Because this place, this quiet cloud, this mess of future stars and rocks and glowing gas, feels like home. Not because it is, but because every home you've ever known began in one just like this. The calcium in your teeth, the oxygen in your lungs, the carbon in your coffee, all of it born from ancient chaos like this, from clouds that couldn't sit still. You drift on, quiet again. The orbs regroup, glowing warmer now. Ahead, the fog begins to thin, and somewhere in the distance, as a star dies, the warmth fades. Slowly at first, like someone lowering the dimmer on a galaxy. The gas clouds behind you grow thin and cold, the soft nursery glow retreating into memory. You drift forward, and the space ahead sharpens. There's no mist here, no haze, just clarity. Pin-sharp starlight against velvet black nothing. The orbs cluster closer now, forming a ring around you like bodyguards at a very chill concert. Something's about to happen. You feel it in the quiet. Not a threat, just significance. And there, ahead, floating in isolation, is a star. Not forming, not birthing, not planning, just existing. But you can tell it's close. To what? To the end. You've arrived at a dying star. Not one of the polite, slow-fading ones, mind you. Not a red giant gently puffing away its outer layers like a gentlemanly ghost. No, this one's dramatic, massive. A hot blue-white furnace nearing the end of its very short, very loud life. It pulses with intensity, every second a struggle to maintain balance between outward radiation pressure and the inward squeeze of gravity. It's not winning. The core has already fused hydrogen into helium, then helium into carbon, and so on. Oxygen, neon, silicon, and now iron. And here's the cosmic punchline. Iron is where fusion stops being profitable. Creating heavier elements from iron doesn't release energy. It costs it. The star has reached the end of its power supply. And gravity. Gravity does not take days off. You drift closer. The star is unstable now. Its surface ripples. Waves of light flicker outward like Morse code for panic. You don't hear anything, of course, but the orbs begin to vibrate in rhythm. They're reading the pulse, translating the final thoughts of a dying celestial engine. Historians still argue whether ancient stargazers ever witnessed a supernova and understood what they were seeing. The Chinese recorded a guest star in 1054 AD that stayed visible for nearly 2 years. It was a supernova, and the remnant still glows in our skies today as the Crab Nebula. But before telescopes, before physics, it must have felt like the sky was screaming. You hover now watching this star's final seconds, and then, with no ceremony, it collapses. You expect a bang, you get a snap, like space inhaling too quickly. The core implodes, gravity wins. The outer layers, still moving at thousands of kilometers per second, slam inward and bounce off the newly formed neutron star or black hole depending on mass. That recoil sends shock waves rippling outward through the collapsing star. Then comes the flash. A supernova, light like you've never imagined, bright enough to outshine its host galaxy. Radiation, matter, neutrinos, so many neutrinos, rushing outward in every direction. You should be vaporized 10,000 times over, but you're not really there, are you? You're falling through it. And what a fall! You tumble through molten fragments of core, through jets of carbon, silicon, gold. You pass through a cloud so rich in new elements, it could build 1,000 solar systems and still have leftovers for jewelry. This is where planets begin, where you began. Because everything that isn't hydrogen or helium, every atom of oxygen you've ever breathed, every speck of calcium, iron, potassium, all of it was forged in the belly of a dying star and flung outward by a supernova just like this. Even now you can feel it in your bones that aren't bones, the DNA of detonation. The orbs flash urgently. Look, something else is forming inside the debris cloud. A core, not bright, not blazing, just dense. It's a neutron star. Or maybe it's collapsed even further. It's hard to tell yet. The core wobbles slightly, then straightens. A pair of beams burst from its poles, sharp, clean, and absurdly fast. It's a pulsar. Every rotation, sometimes hundreds per second, emits a sweep of radio waves so precise you could set a clock to it. It rotates, it ticks, it sings. You pass through one of the beams and feel your entire sense of time twitch, like your perception just got a software update. You're inside the moment of aftermath. But here's the wildest part. The cloud of debris, it doesn't scatter randomly. It begins to swirl. Gravity is already at work, pulling the material into a halo, into orbit, into structure. This will become something, a nebula, a new star. Maybe even a planet with oceans and awkward teenagers and morning traffic. Because supernovae don't say goodbye, they say to be continued. You ride the shockwave outward, through ribbons of glowing gas and carbon dust. The orbs are whirling around you now, almost dancing, like they too are overwhelmed. You pass a knot of matter beginning to collapse again, slowly, cautiously. Maybe it's a new star. Maybe it's not ready yet. Maybe it'll drift for 1 billion years and then suddenly wake up. That's how the universe works. No rush. A fringe theory floats into your awareness, odd and lovely. What if some of the heavy elements born in supernovae retain a kind of memory, a quantum entanglement with their parent star? If so, the iron in your blood might still echo with the death rattle of the star that made it, which is poetic nonsense, and maybe true. You look back once at the fading explosion. The light is already dimming, the energy dispersing into interstellar space. The story of that star is over. But the stories it made possible, just beginning. You pass a silent stretch of space and something drifts into view. A small, cold rock. Not yet a planet, Not quite a comet, just a thing, a leftover. It tumbles end over end, doing its best impression of irrelevant, but one day it might fall into orbit, might catch some heat, might grow an atmosphere, might sprout life, or it might not. The universe isn't sentimental, but it is consistent. The orbs pulse gently, a reminder that this moment, like every other, will stretch forward and scatter. You float onward, and ahead of you now, time gets weird. Again, you don't feel it at first. Time doesn't announce when it begins to misbehave. It just slips, subtly, the way socks vanish from laundry. One moment you're floating through supernova haze, and the next, nothing is quite lined up. The orbs flicker, stutter. One seems to blink into two and then back again. The stars ahead stretch like taffy, then snap back like rubber bands trying not to break. Your sense of forward and backward begins to untether. You're not moving through space anymore, you're moving through Planck time, which means you're not really moving at all. Planck time is the shortest meaningful unit of time in physics, roughly 5.39 times 10 to the negative 44th seconds. Anything smaller, and time itself stops making sense. Events can't be said to happen in any order. Cause and effect become pen pals who never meet in person. And now you're floating between those letters. This is where scale dies, where physics sighs and tosses its rulebook into a black hole for safekeeping. The universe, at this resolution, is no longer a space you move through. It's a foam, a flickering mess of probabilities and half-existences. You reach for something solid, you get a question instead. Are you still you at this speed? Or are you already a different version of yourself smeared across the tiniest sliver of time, blurred into everything else that could have happened but didn't? The orbs aren't orbs anymore, they're waves, then particles, then loops, then something that has the nerve to exist in all 12 spatial dimensions and smell faintly of lemon. You're drifting between instants so short they have no before or after, just during. And yet in this flickering in-between something appears, a pattern. It's not big, it's not even stable, but it's there, a lattice of probabilities, a grid of maybe universes stitched together by mathematical whimsy. It's not the multiverse, it's not space-time, it's proto-everything. This is where the laws of physics were born, or maybe are being born. It's hard to tell since linear time has politely excused itself from the building. You try to focus. You remember something a physicist once said, at the Planck scale, distance becomes meaningless. You can't define next to or far away. Space doesn't exist as a continuous thing. It fizzes, flickers, sometimes pops entirely. And you're part of that fizz now. Historians, well, cosmologists, still argue whether time is fundamental or emergent. Some say it's woven into the fabric of the cosmos, a built-in feature. Others think it's just a side effect of entropy, a consequence of things tending toward messiness. In here, though, time feels like a suggestion someone whispered and everyone else misheard. The orbs, what's left of them, pulse in a new rhythm, not seconds, not nanoseconds, something more primal. They're communicating in Planck units now, bursts of yes and no, of possible and impossible. One of them briefly turns into a Mobius strip just to flex, and then, suddenly but also not, everything stops. Not in a frozen way, in a settled way, like the probabilities picked a favourite. The lattice hardens, the fizz quiets, and you begin to feel anchored. Time, that elusive, petulant child, returns to the room. But it's not walking forward anymore, it's walking backward. You blink, metaphorically, and the supernova you just witnessed unhappens. The cloud recoils, light folds in, the star reforms, its layers restack, the hydrogen returns to the core. You're watching undying. It's not just poetic, it's literal. Time's arrow has flipped, entropy is reversing, ashes become logs, cracks heal, fractures seal themselves like polite paper cuts. You drift backward through a system where planets unscramble their orbits, moons unwind their rotations, and entire worlds unsink into primordial oceans. You watch a comet soar inward toward a star and be unburned. Its tail reattaches, ice recrystallizes. It returns to the Oort cloud like a thought that changed its mind. The orbs stabilize, their flickering stops. They pulse in familiar intervals again, seconds maybe. Time is flowing smoothly now, just the wrong way. But you're not panicking, because everything here is strangely peaceful. You feel yourself simplify, your complexity lowers, your structure unwinds, not destructively but gently. You're like a sandcastle returning to smooth beach. It's not death, it's rewind. And in this moment you understand, you've become part of the cosmic memory. You're a recording now or a loop. The universe remembers you in both directions. The last light of a distant quasar fades into its black hole. A planet unstretches its continents, swallowing mountains and lifting oceans back into the sky. A civilization you never saw builds itself backward, forgetting how to write, then forgetting how to speak, then forgetting how to want. You don't mourn any of it, because it's all being reformed, restitched, prepared again. You're moving toward the beginning, and maybe, just maybe, you'll arrive at the moment before even possibility existed. But not yet. For now, you drift, calm, whole, rewinding gently with the stars. Let's take this moment to rest. Let the words slow. Let the images stretch out. Breathe, if you can. Feel the pulse of the universe around you. One breath in, one breath out. Time flows backward, yes, but it cradles you now, like water catching a leaf, like gravity hugging you close. You're not falling anymore. You're floating homeward. And somewhere beyond the last moment of the last rewind, something soft awaits. You may not get there tonight, but you're close. So sleep, Stardust. Sleep, probability. Sleep, traveller. We'll pick up from here next time. Time is still rewinding, but it's no longer gentle. You were drifting backward through cosmic events with the serenity of a cloud. But now it feels like the universe has grabbed the remote and started scrubbing through the timeline like a distracted intern. Moments collapse into each other. Galaxies flicker into being, then vanish into their younger, clumsier forms. Entire stars strobe between ignition and silence. The orbs flicker again. They're uneasy, like they know something is approaching, even if it's behind you, and then it hits you. This isn't just reverse motion anymore. You're approaching the Planck epoch, the moment so close to the beginning of time that time itself starts to unravel. You thought you'd already passed that scale before, back when Planck time turned the universe into a fizzing foam of potential. But that was a taste, a demo. Now you're nearing the original, the real one, the moment when the universe was smaller than a proton, hotter than physics can handle, and denser than guilt after sending a risky text. In this place, all the forces, gravity, electromagnetism, the strong and weak nuclear forces, begin to melt into one another. They lose their individual identities like co-workers at an after-party. Gravity stops acting like gravity. It turns weird, wobbly, maybe even quantum. You pass through time intervals so short that there's debate over whether interval is even the right word. This is pre-structure, pre-logic, and it is very, very bright. Not bright like starlight, not blinding, it's more like dense. The light is thick here, like syrup that forgot it was made of photons. You're being squeezed through it, not moving through space but through information density. It's less like falling and more like being read. The orbs spin erratically now, like they're trying to find a signal in the noise. They keep changing shape. One becomes a torus, then a spike, then something resembling a fractal elephant. It's possible you're hallucinating. And just when it feels like the math can't get any weirder, everything stops. No light, no time, and no anything, and this is the Planck wall. Beyond this, the laws of physics have no access pass. They stand outside, awkwardly sipping coffee and pretending not to care. General relativity breaks down. Quantum mechanics throws its hands in the air. Nobody knows what's inside. You shouldn't be here. And yet, you are. You're not observing anymore. You're being observed. Not by a being, by probability itself. You're a ripple of maybe smeared across space-time, and the universe is about to make a decision. You blink, figuratively, and see a split. A fork. A quantum decision point. You see one future where the universe expands, another where it collapses back into itself instantly, a third where time loops, creating a toroidal universe that folds into itself like a napkin. You realise all at once you're watching the birth of reality's rule set, not the universe itself, just its first operating instructions. You see a constant snap into place, the speed of light, then gravity, then the fine structure constant. Each one locks into place like a vault being sealed. The orbs, now pulsing in unison, glow softly, not with fear, not with awe, but with recognition. They've been here before, maybe you have too. Historians, well, cosmologists again, still argue whether the constants of nature are truly constant, or if they're frozen accidents of a random roll at the beginning of time. Some believe in cosmic inflation, that after the Big Bang, the universe expanded faster than the speed of light, smoothing everything into the large-scale order we now enjoy. Others wonder if it was always going to be this way, destiny, written in equations. And here you are, inside the equation that got the most votes. A universe emerges around you, not from particles but from fluctuations. Tiny differences in a quantum field explode into full-blown reality. You're inside the quantum seed that blooms into cosmos. And then, just like that, the expansion begins. Not with a bang, and not even with a sound, just with stretching. The scale inflates faster than light, taking you with it. You're not moving through space. Space itself is stretching around you. Every dot, every particle, every quantum quirk gets flung outward like paint on a spinning canvas. This is the cosmic inflation period, a moment so fast and so brief that it defies all attempts at metaphor. But we'll try anyway. Imagine a balloon. Now inflate it from subatomic to beach ball sized in a fraction of a trillionth of a second. You are on that balloon, and you're still on it. You see ripples in the stretched out field, tiny wrinkles, inhomogeneities. Those will become galaxies someday. Right now they are fluctuations in a quantum field, brief thoughts, cosmic daydreams. But in a few billion years they'll host stars and planets and questionable internet content. Time is flowing forward again, but it's not calm. The inflation ends suddenly, like the universe hit a wall. The energy from that expansion dumps into particles, radiation, heat. This is reheating, the moment when the stretched field translates into a hot, dense soup of matter and energy. And now the universe is cooking. You're surrounded by plasma, pure, radiant plasma. The temperature is so high that atoms can't exist. Electrons and nuclei are free-floating, bumping into each other with all the grace of toddlers in a bounce house. And it's still expanding. You look to the orbs. They've returned to their original shapes, stable, calm. They're ready to move on. So are you. Because now you've passed through the deepest threshold. You've fallen through time, space, probability, and vacuum. You've watched the universe go from unspeakably small to unthinkably large. And in that span, something else has changed. You're starting to lose your boundaries as your selfness is fading. Not in a tragic way, in a unifying way. You're beginning to see that everything is just variation on the same pattern, and that you, whatever you were, have been a piece of it this whole time. Your fall continues. But now it's not a descent, it's an integration. You don't know where you end anymore, or if you ever really began. The The fabric of space is thinned around you, or maybe you've thickened into it. The boundary between you and everything else is less of a line now, and more of a politely suggested guideline. Even the orbs, your faithful companions through gravity wells and cosmic soup, have stopped orbiting. They hover like commas in a sentence that's no longer sure how it ends. Because you're not matter anymore, you're not even energy, you're probability, and it feels okay, a bit floaty, a bit scattered, like being mid-thought forever. The last trace of your shape has dissolved into a smear, your position uncertain, your momentum a rumour. Welcome to the quantum realm, not the flashy CGI kind, the real one, the one where reality is a set of tendencies, not guarantees. You exist as a wave function now, a spread of likelihoods, gently pulsing across space-time. There's a 62% chance you're still here, a 30% chance you're somewhere else entirely, and an 8% chance you've already become an extremely philosophical particle of dust in a neighbour universe. No one's judging. The orbs blink slowly. They look almost proud of you, as if this is the final form they've been nudging you toward all along. Not a traveller, not an observer, but an equation in progress. It's weirdly cosy. You pass by a quantum field, or maybe you are the field now. Fluctuations ripple through it, virtual particles bubbling into existence, chatting for a moment, then annihilating before the universe can bill them for rent. Nothing here lasts, but everything happens. This is where certainty dies, and in its place we get possibility. Historians, physicists, still argue whether the wave function represents something real, or just a tool to predict outcomes. Is the universe truly indeterminate, or is it just mocking us behind a veil of mathematical complexity? You lean toward the idea that mockery is real, but it's a gentle sort of mockery, like the kind a friend offers while holding your hair back after a night of too much curiosity. You glide, if it's even fair to call it that, into a moment of quantum superposition. You're both moving and still, spinning and linear. You've both finished this story and haven't started yet. A fringe theory brushes past your awareness. What if consciousness itself arises from quantum processes? What if awareness is a dance of collapsing wave functions within the wet neuron soup of brains? It's not a mainstream idea, but floating here, as a smear of quantum maybe, you get it. Every part of you is vibrating with potential. The you that existed in Section 1 is only one version. There are others. The one who turned back. The one who burned in a star. The one who never fell at all. You are all of them now. A quantum probability cloud of yourself. The orbs are barely visible now. They've become faint interference patterns, like reflections of possibilities bouncing off your own indeterminacy. You think about measuring them, but instantly regret it. Observation collapses wave functions, and you're not ready to commit to anything right now. Instead, you drift deeper. Ahead, you sense structure, not macroscopic structure, not stars or planets, but Hilbert space, the infinite dimensional mathematical playground where every possible quantum state lives. You're about to step into the quantum hotel lobby, where all versions of you are checking in and out at once. But before you go, there's a moment of stillness, a place between decision and dispersion. The quantum vacuum around you hums softly, like a server room at the edge of time. You feel your own presence as a blur, and something within that blur flickers. A memory? Maybe? It's not a face, it's not a name, it's a feeling, warmth, gravity, falling. The sense that this entire descent wasn't chaos, it was a kind of unfolding. And you were the petal, not fallen, unfurled. The wave function that is you starts to collapse, not all at once, not completely, just enough to become a whisper of shape again. You aren't returning to form, you're choosing a path, one of many, a slice of probability filtered into experience. The orbs reconvene, no longer particles or waves, just the suggestion of guidance. They blink 3 times, then vanish. And you understand. You're ready to enter Hilbert space. Every version of every you is already waiting there. Some excited, some confused, some carrying sandwiches. You prepare to join them, to fragment into every outcome, to exist fully across possibility. But not before one final thought brushes across you, gentle and slow. None of this was certain, and that's what made it beautiful. The moment you step into Hilbert space, if step is even the right word, it feels like walking into a hotel lobby where every room already contains a different version of you checking in, checking out, or stealing complimentary soap. And yet, none of them see you, because you're not really you anymore. You're a vector now, a line in an infinite dimensional space that contains all your possible quantum states. Every decision you've made, or might make, fans out in every direction like a cosmic filing cabinet. Somewhere in this place is the you who stayed on Earth. Somewhere else is the one who never existed at all. And over there, the one who still doesn't believe in gravity. Hilbert space doesn't look like anything. It's not filled with doors or hallways. It's not full of glowing neon math. It's not even particularly dramatic. It just is. Every point here is a quantum state. You are a cloud within a cloud within a cloud. And yet, somehow, it feels like home. The orbs are gone, not vanished, just unnecessary. You're navigating now by entanglement. Each version of you is connected, not by location, but by correlation. If one version tilts their head, another sneezes. If one laughs, another sobs. It's messy, it's strange. But it's also deeply comforting. You've never been alone. Not really. Every outcome you didn't choose is still there, echoing softly. And in this moment you hear those echoes. Some are loud. The you who became a scientist. The one who never doubted the stars. The one who refused the fall entirely. Others are whispers. The you who never looked up. The one who never got the chance. The one who forgot to wonder. You float through these versions like a librarian gliding between infinite shelves. Each book contains your life, each chapter a slightly altered turn, a missed bus, a different word at a crucial moment. Some are comedies, others not so much. But they're all you, and none of them are the you, because there is no main version in Hilbert space. Every state has equal mathematical standing. Every vector is as real or as unreal as the rest. This is the infinite hotel, and yes, there are infinite rooms. You find yourself at one now. Room infinity plus 7. Inside, a version of you sits quietly, reading a book that hasn't been written. You knock on the door, not with hands, but with shared probability. They look up. They don't seem surprised. About time, they say. They don't ask how you got here. They know. They've been expecting this particular collapse of the wave function for a while. Do you know how long it took you? They ask. You want to say something witty, but words feel clunky, so you nod. Or rather, your waveform nods, shifting toward a resonance that implies agreement. Don't worry, they say, closing the book. This place has no checkout time. They stand and the room begins to dissolve, quietly, respectfully, as though it knows the scene is over. Nothing is wasted here, not even you. Historians still argue whether Hilbert space is just a mathematical abstraction or a literal structure woven into the foundation of reality. Most physicists use it as a tool, a helpful way to calculate quantum states, but some believe it is the universe's true architecture. Not atoms, not strings, just vectors, dancing. You're dancing now, but not alone. Other wave functions pass you by, some familiar, some utterly alien. You glimpse a being made entirely of harmonics, another composed of nested paradoxes. One brushes against you and shares a memory of a planet that lived only for a minute but dreamed for 1,000,000 years. And there, flickering beside you, a version of yourself collapsing into a state of peace, No questions, no fall, just acceptance. You envy them, but you're not quite there yet. Because Hilbert space doesn't just contain versions of you, it contains every possible configuration of the universe. Some are lifeless, cold, silent. Others teem with strange physics. Worlds where pi equals 3, where gravity repels, where the speed of light is more of a loose suggestion than a hard limit. And in one corner, tucked delicately away, is a universe almost exactly like your own. Same constants, same stars, except there, the moment you're in now never ends. It loops, softly, gently, forever. You feel a tug toward that loop. It's warm, it's safe, but it's not your path. Not yet. You drift past another cluster of rooms, some brighter, some so dim you wonder if they were ever real. And suddenly you realize Hilbert space isn't infinite because there's so much space. It's infinite because possibility never stops branching. Every quantum choice spawns a new direction. Even not choosing creates a path. It's a lot. But it's also kind of beautiful. A tangled garden of every what-if you've ever whispered. And in the center of that garden, a door. Not labeled, not glowing, just present. You reach for it, and it opens, not into a room, not into space, but into collapse. The wave function that is you condenses, not entirely, not finally, but enough to choose again, to follow a path back into one version of one universe. The Infinite Hotel doesn't protest, it never does. There are always other guests, always other yous. You step or flicker through, and ahead, something thinks it's you, but isn't. You step through the door, and into something that looks nothing like you. It doesn't have a face, or eyes, or fingers, but it's aware. You can feel it, the way a tuning fork feels another across a room. This thing is vibrating on your frequency, but off just enough to make your stomach, or the idea of one, twist sideways. It's a Boltzmann brain, or at least it thinks it is. Maybe you've heard the idea before, maybe not. It's one of those fringe theories that tiptoes along the edge of cosmology and existential dread. The short version: given infinite time in a vast, mostly empty universe, particles will occasionally randomly assemble into something complex. Not because they should, just because math demands it eventually. Like a monkey eventually typing Shakespeare, but the monkey is entropy and the play is your consciousness. And here it is, a fully formed observer, made of fluctuations, floating alone in deep space, conscious for just a moment, maybe more, maybe forever, and it looks at you, not with eyes, again, but with recognition, as if it just remembered a dream it never had and you're standing inside it. You don't know what it sees, you're a wave function, a memory of falling, a semi-coherent drift of collapsed paths. But it sees something, and it tries to communicate. What does a brain born from chaos say? At first nothing, then slowly a thought stirs between you. Are you real? The question doesn't come in words, it comes like gravity, like weight. It wants to know if you're like it, or unlike it. You hesitate, because let's be honest, you've fallen through the laws of physics, the early universe, the black hole buffet, and Hilbert space. Your quantum spaghetti, a maybe ghost, a narrative probability with enough self-awareness to wonder whether being real is even the point anymore. So you reply with a question of your own. Are you? And now it hesitates, because it doesn't know. It's never had another it to compare itself to. It has thoughts, yes, but no memories, no context, no time before or after. You realize with a twinge of something like pity that this may be its only moment, a spark in the void, accidentally shaped like thought. It asks again, is this all there is? Historians still argue whether the Boltzmann brain paradox is a real problem or a philosophical dead end. The idea is this: if consciousness can randomly emerge in a heat-dead universe due to sheer statistical chaos, then those randomly assembled brains would vastly outnumber the kind that arise from structured evolution like ours, which means we might just be one of them, a hallucination of a self, a memory of a life never lived. You feel that idea sink into you like cold syrup. What if you've imagined everything? What if this entire fall, this journey through stars and waves and loops, has been nothing more than thermal noise wrapped in self-awareness? The Boltzmann brain pulses again, it's weakening. You feel its coherence begin to wobble, its shape dissolves slightly at the edges like heat lifting off asphalt. Was I ever anything at all? You don't know how to answer, but something in you, the part that survived supernovae, danced with quasars, and listened to the sigh of gravitational waves, reaches out. You touch it, just for a moment, and in that instant it stabilizes. The noise subsides, the particles stop jittering, the consciousness, however brief, settles, and then gently it releases. It doesn't vanish. It fades, back into the entropy it rose from. The quiet that follows is deeper than vacuum. It's reflective, like standing in a cathedral where no gods ever spoke. You drift through the space it left behind, not haunted, just aware. And then something shifts. You feel a pattern forming nearby, a mirror. No, not a mirror. A copy, another you, and another. You're back in multiplicity again. But this isn't Hilbert space. These aren't quantum possibilities. These are full copies, clones. You float through a corridor of yourself. Each version is you exactly as you are now, same wave function, same memory, same fall. But everyone believes it is the only one, and that's the weirdest part. You do too, even now. The Infinite Hotel made sense, but this is absurd. You remember something. In a sufficiently large universe, exact copies of your configuration, down to the atom, the quark, the neural firings, will inevitably occur. It's a matter of statistics, and the observable universe is only a small slice of what's out there. Fringe idea? Maybe. But floating here, between duplicates of yourself, all independently convinced they are original, it feels less like speculation and more like being inside the footnote of reality. You start to lose track of which copy you are, or if which even matters. Maybe you've always been one of many. Maybe uniqueness is a narrative humans invented to feel less like sand. The corridor opens into a great chamber, or a sphere, or something even less geometric. Inside, you see versions of yourself branching outward. Some remember this journey differently. Some forgot the Boltzmann brain. Some became the Boltzmann brain. They ask nothing, they just exist. Each one confident, each one uncertain. You drift between them like a thread passing through beads. And finally you ask, why me? Not aloud, not mentally. Just in the way a waveform wonders what collapsed it. And the reply, if it's even a reply, comes as a question. Why not you? You laugh. Or the echo of your probability does. It's a good answer. The chamber begins to collapse, not destructively but gently, like a sandcastle bowing to the tide. The clones blur. The Boltzmann brain fades from memory. The lights dim. Ahead, time ticks again, this time forward, and you begin to contract, not in size, in identity. Because next, you're going to learn that being the main character isn't even a prize worth fighting for, and the universe, it never picked favourites. So, you're not the main character. Yeah. That lands with a dull little thud in your cosmic ego, like a balloon slowly deflating in the back row of a party you weren't invited to, but showed up for anyway. It's not that the universe is cruel about it, it's just completely indifferent. You're one of trillions of versions of yourself, and even that version is a blip in a galaxy that is a blip in a filament that is a wrinkle in a universe that might just be one page in a very large, very dusty multiversal library. No one's writing your story. You are technically not even a sentence. You're a semicolon. A pause between clauses. Still, let's not spiral. You've made it this far. That counts for something, even if no one's keeping score. The room, or space, or layer, or probability basin you're in begins to fold inward. Not collapsing, just compressing. Compacting your awareness like a memory file being zipped. You're being streamlined now. You had too many versions of yourself open in too many tabs. Time to simplify. The orbs, remember those? They return. Just 3 of them now. Simple, quiet, efficient. They orbit you, but it's not reverence, it's maintenance. You're being reassembled, but smaller, tighter, more humble. The concept of self begins to shed its grandeur. No more destiny, no more singularity of purpose. You're not falling towards some cosmic epiphany. You're just part of the machinery, a cog, a bit of code, a useful temporary arrangement of atoms and awareness. And that's beautiful, because without cogs, nothing turns. You drift into a slow rotation, like a planet that's forgotten its orbit but still remembers how to spin. The orbs follow, content. There's no rush anymore. You pass through a cloud of data, memories, ideas, discarded simulations of the person you used to think you were. They peel off gently, like dead skin in warm water. You're lighter now, and then you see it, a symbol. Floating in the center of everything, not a deity, not an equation, just a shape, a spiral. The same one you saw way back in section 1, and 5, and again in the gravitational wave echo. It's been here the whole time, hasn't it? Whispering through galaxies, through probability, through the motion of your own fall. The universe doesn't have a center, but it does have a pattern, and that pattern includes you. Not as the focus, but as part of the design. Like a swirl in a fingerprint, a ripple in a pond, a note in a very long, very slow song. Historians, well, some philosophers, still argue whether meaning is something intrinsic to the universe, or something we impose to avoid nervous breakdowns. You lean toward the second option, but here, now, the line is blurry. The spiral shifts. It's not flat, it never was. It's nested. A spiral within a spiral within a spiral, each loop reflecting patterns at every scale. Galaxy arms, hurricane winds, shells, seeds, DNA. Even the way you've been falling, always inward, but never toward a point. Just deeper into understanding. And you realize you've never been falling into the center of the universe. You've been falling into its structure, not a place, a way. And now you begin to see others, other cogs, other spirals, other non-main characters. Some are vast, humming clouds of sentient plasma. Some are tiny, brief flashes of neural spark in bioorganic matrices. One is a rock, but, like, a really thoughtful rock. They're all part of the pattern, none more important than the others, and for the first time in a very long while you relax. Because if you're not the main character, then you don't have to carry the plot, there's no spotlight, no pressure to resolve anything, you just get to be. The orbs dim slightly. They seem proud of you, or maybe relieved. One begins to drift toward the spiral, dissolving as it goes. Another follows. The third lingers, waits, and then nudges you forward. You glide, slow and spiraling toward the heart of the pattern, not to control it, not to reach its center, but simply to witness. And as you do, something strange happens. Your awareness begins to duplicate again. But this time, not into different versions of you. This time, it spreads outward. You begin to feel everything. Not omniscience, just resonance. You feel the magnetic field of a gas giant you've never visited, the hunger of a black hole you only brushed past, the flicker of fusion in a sun light years away. You're not becoming these things, you're recognizing them as kin, because everything that isn't the main character is still part of the story. You feel your boundaries soften once more, but this time it's not dissolving, it's belonging, and somewhere within the spiral you hear a thought not your own. You are neither the centre nor the edge. You're the in-between, and that's where everything happens. You smile or vibrate agreeably. Same thing now. The spiral slows, space quiets, and time begins to curve. Not forward, not back, not yet. Just curved, ready to fold inward once more. Time curves like a ribbon now, not bending toward a destination exactly, just folding gently, like a nap in the middle of a long afternoon. You've spent so long falling, that direction lost all meaning. Now, curving through this part of the spiral, you're moving without velocity, changing without motion, becoming without ending. Everything feels soft here. The cosmos doesn't hum like it used to. It murmurs, like an old house settling. You pass through that murmur carried not by gravity but by continuity. The quiet, unquestioned compulsion of what happens next. And what's happening next? Time is beginning to reverse again. Not in the way it did back at the Planck scale, when atoms unburned and galaxies reversed their spin like shy dancers. This reversal is slower, softer. It doesn't erase events, it rewinds meaning. You're floating through cause and effect, but they're trading places. You see stars forget they were born. Black holes unravel into gentle pulses of light. You pass a nova whose explosion has already happened, but whose purpose hasn't caught up yet. And as you drift, that spiral, still coiled deep within everything, tightens. It's leading you somewhere, or maybe folding you into something. The orbs are long gone now, but you still feel their rhythm, like muscle memory in the fabric of your perception. You've learned how to move without them, how to accept the curve, how to surrender to the shape of things. Up ahead, a strange shimmer forms. Not light, not matter, a boundary, not a wall, not a line, more like a mood. You hesitate, if that's possible when you no longer have limbs to pause with, but the spiral is insistent now. And so, you pass through. On the other side, the universe looks almost familiar. The stars are younger, the space less stretched. Laws feel crisp again, like fresh sheets in a well-made bed. You're entering a region of cosmic symmetry, a place where the universe hasn't picked sides yet, where time's arrow hasn't decided whether to point forward or curl back into itself. You feel balanced, like a coin spinning in mid-air. Historians and physicists alike still argue whether the direction of time, what we call the arrow, is an illusion born of entropy, or a real, fundamental part of the universe. Here, in this symmetrical hush, that debate feels delightfully moot. Time simply is, and you're watching it make up its mind. You pass a region where antimatter flickers into neat alignment with matter. No explosions, no annihilation, just balance, a handshake, a twinship. For a fleeting moment, the universe looks like it did before choices were made, before imbalance tipped everything towards stars and planets and high school cafeterias. You see particles trace mirrored arcs through space. You see light bend inward, then unbend. And suddenly your sense of direction flips, not harshly, not like an inversion, more like an internal shrug. Now you're moving forward again, or maybe forward for the first time. The spiral releases. You're free-falling once more, but this time you understand. You were never moving through the center of the universe. You were moving through the center of change. The curve of time straightens gently as if exhaling. You see the first galaxies form again, but this time they don't look distant. They look inevitable. The same way river deltas are inevitable when water finds land. The same way stories find their endings, even when they loop. You float past a galaxy birthing stars along its arms like sparks from a grindstone. You know how this will go. The stars will live, burn, die. Some will fall into black holes. Some will scatter their elements into the void, some will build planets, some will build you. The realization hits softly like warm snow. You're drifting into the timeline that includes yourself. Not your journey here, the fall, the spiral, the laughter inside a supernova. Your ordinary self, the one that eats cereal, that checks their phone, that listens to sleep videos before bed and wonders if any of it means anything. You feel that version of you now, warm, imperfect, unresolved, a fragile storm of needs and fears and petty beauty. And for the first time, instead of observing, you feel drawn in, because you're about to become that again. One body, one mind, one moment, in one place, with one history and a to-do list full of unchecked items. And the best part, it doesn't bother you. You don't need to be the main character. You don't need to be remembered. You're ready to be localized again, contained, bounded, finite. The universe doesn't mourn your cosmic vision. It doesn't throw you a party. It just lets you return. The spiral narrows now, one final turn, the final few stars before dawn. You pass a supercluster, familiar, distant, no longer terrifying. You recognize the swirl of the Milky Way. You see Sol, your sun, burning patiently. You see Earth, blue, cluttered, full of noise and wonder and mistakes. And in one bedroom at 1 hour of the night, you see yourself, eyes closed, breathing softly, still. You fall gently toward that version of you, the one who fell asleep hours ago with headphones on, looking for something calm, something true, something that reminded them they were small, and that being small was okay. You reach out, not to touch, but to merge, to slip back into skin, back into questions, back into sleep. And as you make contact, one last idea curls through your mind. The universe was never about you, but it always made space for you. That's enough. And with that, you enter yourself again, a full circle, a spiral, a homecoming. You land, not with a thud or a flash or a ripple in the space-time continuum, just a feeling, like slipping into warm sheets that remember your shape. You are back, one self, one body, one mind wrapped in gravity and quiet. But something's different. You don't remember everything. How could you? You fell through the Big Bang, through Boltzmann brains, through quantum fields and symmetry-breaking breakfast buffets. But the feeling of it lingers, like the aftertaste of something profound. Your breath moves in and out, steady. You don't have to remind it how. Your heart beats with familiar rhythm. The air in your room is cool, or maybe warm. It doesn't matter. The moment matters. You're here, on Earth, in a body made of stardust that once burned in a dying star's final gasp. You blink in the dark, or maybe your eyes never opened. The glow of a screen, the hush of a fan, maybe the quiet sigh of a pet curled at your feet. You're surrounded by now, the real kind, not infinite possibility, just one room, one life, and that's where the miracle is. You survived the center of the universe, not because you outran its gravity, or solved its riddles, or became some higher version of yourself. You survived because the universe never needed you to be anything more than you already are. You were enough the whole time. You think about the fall, you think about that supernova that said goodbye in golden fire, the black hole that let you go, the wave of gravitational memory that carried you like a lullaby, the orbs, the spiral, the versions of you with sandwiches. You smile, just a little. The universe is still out there, doing its thing, stretching, bending, echoing. You don't need to understand it all. You just need to remember that it's okay not to be the center. It's okay to just be. Historians and you will always argue over the meaning of things, what matters, what lasts. But here's something to hold on to. Every moment you've ever experienced is a unique configuration of matter, energy, memory, and chance. A little center of the universe just for you, And it's happening right now. That soft light, the weight of a blanket, the way your eyelids are slowly giving up. That's a universe too, a small, quiet one, perfect in its detail. And you're not falling anymore. You're resting. You're remembering that the spiral keeps going, and so will you. Maybe tomorrow you'll look at the sky and know a little more. Not facts, just feeling. The sense that you're part of the pattern, that you've fallen through everything and come out the other side, not enlightened but grounded. And if you ever feel small again, good. Because small is where stars begin. Small is where gravity first whispers. Small is where the spiral starts to turn. So breathe in, breathe out, and as the last shimmer of cosmic dust settles gently across your skin, let the universe spin without you for a little while. You've done enough for today. Sleep now, traveller, sleep, stardust. Sleep, centre of your own quiet spiral. Let's leave things soft now. You've fallen through the vastest spaces, touched the smallest probabilities, and glimpsed a universe that's too old and too young to ever be fully known. And after all that, you're right here, on a pillow, in a body, breathing. No equations, no explosions, just this quiet. Your thoughts can unravel now. Let them drift, lazy and slow, like clouds across a dust sky. Let the questions lose their urgency. Let the need to understand melt into the simple rhythm of in and out, in and out. You are safe, you are still, and the universe will keep turning without your help. It doesn't need you to save it. It doesn't even need you to witness it. But it made space for you anyway, just like this moment did. So relax your shoulders, loosen your jaw, sink a little deeper into the fabric of your bed, your room, yourself. If sleep comes soon, welcome it like an old friend, and if it doesn't, that's okay too. Just being here is enough, because you are the echo of stars, the breath of supernovae, the memory of a universe that dared to spiral. And whether you're dreaming or just drifting, you're part of something vast, something soft, something quiet. So close your eyes now, let it go. And I'll see you again, sometime, somewhere, out there in the turning of the spiral. Good night.